Hi, and welcome to the TNT Real Estate Podcast. I'm Tanya Vandenberg, and I'm here with my business partner, Tyler Peroni, and we are the owners of Sutton Benchmark Realty here in the city of Greater Sudbury.
Welcome, everybody. We've been planning this podcast for a long time, but the goal of this podcast is basically to educate buyers, sellers, investors, and other realtors in the Sudbury market and all around the world, wherever you're listening from. With this first podcast, we're going to kind of explain Tanya's, upbringing in real estate. So is mine. How we got to where we are, being the owners of Sutton Benchmark, and everywhere in between.
Awesome. So I'll get started asking you questions, Tyler. So you, I understand, have a degree in law and justice.
Yes.
And how did you make that switch? How did you get into a career in real estate?
Okay, so my real estate addiction started very young. Both my parents were actually realtors back in the day. And then since that, they became real estate investors. They would buy, sell, renovate properties. So growing up, my, summer jobs were in apartment buildings in the Donovan or Flour Mill. We'd go in, we'd fix an apartment, we'd refinance. So
I guess I was getting a phone call and it was vibrating off the table.
Okay, so my real estate addiction started super young. Both my parents were realtors back in the day, early 90s, late 80s. And then after that, they were real estate investors. So growing up, I was always, around real estate, watching them, getting their education as real estate investors. My summer job, especially in high school, was going into, their units, fixing apartments. We would work on it all summer and then, refinance or sell it. So that's where the addiction started. Fast forward a couple years till the end of university, I went into law and justice. I really wanted to be a police officer, and then I realized it wasn't the lifestyle that I wanted to live. I thought, could I pull up my grades and go to law school? But I was not passionate about that side of the law at all. And so my last year at university, I did my real estate license so I can help my friends, my peers, family, and anybody else, strangers, buy and sell real estate. And ever since that, 10 years later, we're now sitting on the couch as owners of Sutton Benchmark.
Crazy.
And it's been a crazy journey.
Crazy. That's a really cool upbringing. Cool to know your background in that too. Sometimes I think that maybe my kids and my son especially are going to be not wanting to get into real estate because of some of the things that we do with property flipping and all the jobs that are always on the go. So it can be quite a lot, but as you know, it can be very rewarding, right?
Yeah.
That's pretty awesome.
So enough about me. You're originally from Montreal. Mm-hmm. You went to school in BC at UVic.
Yep.
And then somewhere in the middle of this, you ended up in Sudbury, Ontario.
I know, it's so bizarre. So we both, my husband and myself, we have geology degrees. So we both went to school out west, and we were living in Ottawa for a period of time, and we thought we would be moving back out west. That was the original plan. And we had to stop in Sudbury. So he had a job here. It was a short period of time. It was maybe a 6-month position. But, Sudbury is one of those towns that just really grows on you. And I know people said, oh, you're going to stay, you're going to end up staying. And we never thought we would. But, we are people who love the outdoors. We love camping. We love backcountry canoeing, that type of thing. And my husband's also an avid mountain biker. So the area here really appealed to us because it was affordable. He had a good job. I could go to school. I was going to go do my master's at that time. And we could afford the lifestyle of, being outdoors and having a good time because some of the parks that we have around here are just on our doorsteps, and it's really beautiful to be able to just head down to Killarney and do all those types of activities. So we fell in love with Sudbury. And so we've been here, gosh, I want to say it's been over 20 years now, maybe 22 years. Wow. And we've raised a family. So it's one of those places that, you're young and you get your first job and you can afford, a decent-ish kind of lifestyle. It's a good place to live. Yep. So then we ended up buying a house and sticking with it.
Sweet.
Yeah, it's pretty awesome.
That is awesome.
Yeah. So then, and our kids are older now, and one of them has kind of flown the nest and is out pursuing university education now. So, we're kind of in a different phase of life, but Sudbury is still one of those places where it's a pretty awesome place to live.
Absolutely.
Yeah. And we've seen it change a lot too, right? Over 20 years, we've seen the demographics change a lot. We've seen the real estate industry change a lot. And I wanted to ask you about what have you seen change in the city? Because you're born and raised in Sudbury. Mm-hmm. You've been here all your life. Mm-hmm. So what have you seen change real estate-wise or city-wise?
Everything and nothing. Sudbury, I find, is I refer to it like good old Sudbury. Like, not much changes, but in a good way, because you get all those added benefits of just being in the city. But at the same time, everything changes. If you see the development going on, one of my favorite roads to drive on right now that it's freshly paved, Notre Dame. You're coming down Notre Dame and you see the big crane in the sky, building the 200-unit building up on the hill downtown, and it's so lovely to see. New development in the city, especially bringing a house for, especially that one is kind of low income retirement. But it is fantastic to see. And then you go downtown, you gotta have the Place des Arts, you have Yes Theater and their purchase of the Sudbury Theater Center. So really, we are flourishing as a
Those have been some of the biggest changes that we've seen as well being here, right? Especially with respect to the investment in the downtown, investment in housing. And that development, I remember that development when they first developer came to town, gosh, I want to say it was at least 10 years ago, because we actually owned a house back on Van Horn Street that was sort of in that area, and we had a notice about it. And I honestly never thought it was going to come to fruition because it was such a big project, and there was a lot of red tape in the city at that time, but now it's really encouraging to see that type of development and that amount of housing units actually coming to fruition. Yeah. That's pretty cool.
And then also, development in Minnow Lake, on the Hazelton subdivision. You have the Woodbine expansion. You have the Valley that's,
Valley's booming.
Everywhere. There's new development, new housing starts out there. Azilda, you have, the condo section that they've built, and houses as well. Yeah. Chelmsford.
Those are huge changes. That's one thing we hadn't really thought about or spoken about, is the need for sort of more senior type of living, right? Seniors who want to move out of their large homes and live in something that's maybe not too difficult to maintain, like a low maintenance type of property. And to see those development, those condos in Azilda and those types of properties, even in the Valley on Bonaventure, those really are geared towards seniors, so they can have, a really nice lifestyle and still, have that pride of home ownership and not necessarily need to be in an apartment type setting, but also a lot less maintenance.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Okay, so what is your, we are both obviously property owners and investors. You started in Sudbury, you have your house on Van Horn that you were talking about. What's been going on since that?
Okay, so our first actually home was that home on Van Horn we purchased, and funny enough, we had to compete for that house. And we've competed for every single house that we've purchased.
I've competed for 3 out of 4.
No way.
That's pretty good.
Yeah, actually, I shouldn't say that. One of the houses we bought was a lottery system. That was a property in Quebec. You had to be picked to have the privilege of buying it, so that was pretty cool. But yeah, we've competed, and so it's nice, us, to be in that position where you can be in the buyer's shoes and you can be stressed about it, understand the process of how it goes and how you can still be successful, right? I know it's a lot of pressure on home buyers to put those offers forward when you're competing, but someone's going to be successful, and it can definitely be you if you're willing to step up and just keep at it, right? Maybe you miss out on one property, but there's always something out there that's possible. Absolutely. So we had the house on Van Horn, and then we ended up selling that one and purchasing a duplex that we lived in for 1 year, actually, just 1 year. And then purchased another one, and then bought our home. So that took quite a number of years, but I think it was cool. Actually, I saw one of my clients, they did that similar process with another family. They ended up moving into a multifamily unit, And I thought, you know what, if they can do it with 2 kids, why can't I do it with 2 kids?
Yeah.
And I think it's been a really great investment. And yourself, your first property you bought, tell us a bit about it.
So it was the typical New Sudbury bungalow. It was just me and my girlfriend back then, wife now. And we wanted to own a house, but we didn't need the whole house. And so obviously, like as an investor, I always look at extra potential of the house. And so we bought New Sudbury typical bungalow that has 2 separate entries. The downstairs has high ceilings. It already had a bathroom down there. Already had a bedroom. So when we bought our house, we lived on the main floor. We rented our basement out. We added the kitchen downstairs, and we added 1 wall and a door for the bedroom, and that was a beautiful 2-bedroom.
How much did you spend?
We spent, I think it was just over $10,000.
Really?
Like, it was not back then. You can do some renovations for fairly cheap.
Awesome.
But it was a nice, easy reno. I learned a lot. Obviously, I was used to doing renovations with family, but to take on your own project and make it your own was very cool. But yeah, so we rented it out to Cambrian students because we're so close, and so they would be there from September to April, and then every summer we'd do a couple extra little renovations that would make it much easier with sound separation, fire separation between floors. And yeah, we still live there. We have taken over the whole house because we have two young children now. But
soon a third.
Soon, one more. So now we're bursting at the seams. But yeah, it's a great place to live. I love New Sudbury. It's
awesome.
Nice and close.
Cool. So we are now the owners of Sutton Benchmark Realty.
We are, yes.
I kind of roped you to come on over here to become an agent and buy the brokerage together. How has your experience been so far as an owner of the business?
I mean, so being in the business for 9 years before we departed on this journey was crazy. And we always say, with real estate, it's never the same day after day. But this is a whole new chapter in life. I've really enjoyed it, obviously being partnered with you, and then coming into this family style brokerage. It's been a fantastic journey, and it's I can't wait to see as we get more months and more years into this where we can take this. So
That's awesome.
It's been a lot, very exciting.
Yeah, it's been really good. I think we've both learned a lot about processes and managing things. It's certainly been a bit of a challenge, but I think coming into it, we've had a really great group of agents to work with, work alongside, and to mentor and to train, and it's been a really good collaborative environment. I think it's pretty awesome.
It's the physical office is amazing for collaboration. It will, maybe in the next podcast or something, we'll do a tour. But yeah, with the open space in the middle, just having nice big desks, everybody sits around, collaborates. One huge difference I find is the family style. You can come and people want to work together. They want to work through things. If you have having trouble one day, anybody is there to ask for advice. And then us being, the heads of the operation has been super exciting. I love that leadership role. I love, having our new agents. We've added a few agents, some experienced, some brand new, but having those first brand beginner agents get their first sale, get their first listing is awesome. Something that is very cool. And that's why, a part of the reason that we, started that, took over ownership of this brokerage. Is to help younger people.
Yeah, I think having the experience that we had, we both volunteered at the real estate board for quite a number of years, and worked in that sort of leadership role, working on various committees, and then leading the organization through a couple of years there. Challenging years too, right? You had the COVID year, I had the year right after COVID as president. It's pretty challenging, but I think I really enjoyed that role and being around those peers. We were at the real estate board working with people from different companies, different brokerages, different types of brokerages, and learning from one another and sort of, being leaders in the industry and trying to do better for our industry as a whole. So I think taking those skills that we learned has been really helpful, certainly in this role as an owner in this type of brokerage with our agents. Yeah.
So obviously we worked together for a long time. Then I got the call middle of summer, and we started on this process. There's all sorts of hoops to jump through. What has been your favorite kind of takeaway since we started this?
So I really enjoyed, I think those first few meetings, which I think is something we've carried throughout, is sitting down and talking about what's the vision. What's the vision for the brokerage? What's the vision for our agents? What's the vision for the future? And aligned with that vision to have, key mission and value statements as well, right? So I think it's very important that we keep to our values, which I think we just have naturally, right? Yeah. We sat down and we honed down those values and that vision, and we've kind of kept it going.
Yeah, I think for the listeners, I think when we first sat down, you pitched the idea to me to become partners, and we kind of talked about what do we want a brokerage to look like. And it was kind of crazy to me that whatever was coming out of your mouth was what was I was thinking,
yeah.
And then I would say something, and your eyes would light up,
yeah.
Because it was exactly what you were thinking as well.
Yeah.
Family style brokerage, very collaborative, healthy competition. But I think just to kind of push everybody forward, but no, cutthroat stuff. We really want people to be able to come in, work with each other, just like we're working together now. And we've had agents in the office that have kind of partnered up, and they are, probably, we obviously haven't had this conversation, but probably very surprised by the results that they garnered out.
Absolutely. You mentioned competition, and healthy competition is always good, and I think along with competition comes accountability too, and people often partner together for that accountability. We see that with our agents who work together. They're more accountable together to one another when they work together, and I think it works in our partnership as well when we have that accountability. It's kind of tough when you take everything on your own, and a lot of realtors do work on their own, and a lot of realtors succeed fantastic on their own, and that works for their business model. But I think some people do crave a little bit of that outward accountability, a little bit of camaraderie, a little bit of someone asking you, checking in, like, hey, how are you doing? And I think that's worked really well.
I think the business itself is a lonely business, and people don't really understand that, because you think like most of us are kind of extroverts, or I call myself like an extroverted introvert, because I need that recharge time, but I also love being out there and talking to people. But lots of people see, the extroverts, especially on, these TV shows where it's just like high energy all the time, always out there from 9 a.m. to 9 p.m. or later. But I think at the end of the day, it's a lonely business, because you have, especially when you're a single agent, you have nobody to talk to about the business practices that you're kind of providing and helping your clients with. So that was one change. I came from one of the biggest brokerages actually the biggest brokerage in the city, to a much smaller brokerage. But the change with the collaboration and the people around me that are doing big numbers, doing things that aren't necessarily the status quo in the real estate industry, has changed my outlook on real estate, and helped me provide that value to our agents and clients as well.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah,
so good. Well, I'm excited for the future. What do we see for the future, Tyler?
Oh God, we see everything.
Everything.
I think more just in general in the real estate industry, more AI driven,
more tech for sure.
More tech, more AI. But I think there's going to be a breaking point eventually of too much tech, and not enough personal touch. I've dealt with, everybody has had these deals where you deal with the other side, or buyers or sellers, and sometimes you don't even get to meet them because they're out of the country, out of province, and then other agents that send you over paperwork, and you don't get a phone call, barely get a text message. So I think there will be a breaking point. I hope there will be a breaking point, because I think face to face is the history of our business, and it will be the future as well.
I mean, technology is awesome. It's really helped us in our businesses to be innovative. Huge changes in marketing and marketing capability, and AI has been one of the huge proponents. But like you said, this is sort of like a face-to-face business. It's a very personal business, and it's important that we don't get so sidelined by technology that we forget about that personal side of things.
Absolutely.
Yeah, well, I'm excited for the future.
Absolutely. I'm excited for episode 2
Oh my God.
of the TNT Real Estate Podcast. I think that was a good first one.
Yeah, thanks for putting up with us.
Absolutely. Thank you all for listening or watching, and we will see you in episode number 2.